and Olympic champion Sue Bird, who will be competing with the U.S. women's basketball team in Beijing starting in a few days. She's currently playing also in the WNBA, with the Seattle Storm. Let's take a listen to what Sue had to say about her time at Christ the King High School in Queens, also at UConn, and as a member of the 2004 Women's Olympic gold medal team. Joining me on the phone is Long Island High School basketball star, women's NCAA champion, WNBA champion, and also Olympic gold medalist Sue Bird. Sue, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
No problem. Is there anything else you want me to throw in with all those accolades? There's a lot of them, and I'm sure. As I said in the intro, you're a Long Island native, and you did your playing at high school playing at Christ the King Regional High School, which is well known for having some great players such as yourself and many others from men's and women's basketball, like Eric Barkley, Speedy Claxton, Shamiqua Holtzclaw, just to name a few. So you had a great start in high school, but when did you know that you wanted to take basketball to another level and play in college and eventually the pros?
It actually started a little bit before Christ the King because I grew up in Long Island. I grew up in Syosset, went to Syosset public schools my whole life. And then after my 10th grade year, I went to Syosset High School for those first 2 years. My parents got split. And the way it all worked out, my dad, not coincidentally, but moved to Middle Village, that's where Christ the King is. And I kind of had a choice, where I could transfer. And in doing that, Christ the King didn't have a soccer team. It didn't have, soccer was the other sport I was playing at the time and was kind of choosing between basketball and soccer. And that kind of, I knew going to Christ the King would kind of make the decision for me. So a lot of it, the thought process of where do I want to, which sport do I want to continue my so-called career at the time in, that's when that was made. Because by choosing Christ the King, I was 100% choosing basketball.
Now, you played for the WNBA Seattle Storm. You were the first pick of the 2002 draft. You had such a great career, I should say, up to that point between high school and college. What was it like to be the first pick of the 2002 draft?
That was amazing. I mean, you look back on that experience, and, no one can ever take that away from you, being the number one pick overall in a draft. It's pretty special, it was nerve-wracking because even though I had heard things, I had heard, oh, you're definitely going to be the number one pick, oh, this, that, and the other thing, until your name is called, you really don't know. So it can be, an anxious time, when you're just sitting there waiting. But once they do finally call your name, and go to the podium and have your picture taken, it kind of solidifies you in history. I mean, that's it's a memorable experience.
You came out of college with some ridiculous record at UConn. I think it was like 114-4. I mean, something like that. And then you go to the Storm, and in your first game, if I'm not mistaken, if I am, correct me, I think you lost the game with the Storm. And was it tough to realize that things may be a little different than what you've done, in the past with UConn? I mean, I'm sure you got used to that. So how did you manage to adjust to not winning all the time?
Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. I do remember that first game. I do remember losing. And, I remember I walked in the locker room because, like you said, at UConn, we just didn't lose that much. And the times when we did lose, I mean, it was like somebody died. I say that, tongue-in-cheek, but it really, you'd walk in the locker room and it would be quiet, or it would be people, throwing things and being upset. I mean, it just didn't happen that much, so it was almost as if you didn't know how to react. Right. So I remember in Seattle when we had our first loss, I kind of had the same reaction that I had in college. I came in and I was kicking things and I was upset and all this stuff. And then, the one thing you learn, and you learn it quickly, because you have to, is that in the WNBA, the way the schedule is, you can't even dwell on it. You have to move on to the next because, unlike college, your next game could literally be the next night. So, as time goes on, you never like to use it, losing, but as time goes on, you learn how to use it to your advantage, to learn from it, to move on. And now I actually like that we have so many games because you lose, and that feeling, which is a terrible feeling of losing, you can kind of make up for it within 24 hours. Get a win the next night, all of a sudden you forget about losing. So that's pretty much how it went for me.
You were the youngest player on the 2004 Olympic team, or one of the youngest players, and you didn't get as much playing time as you were used to. Did that bother you at all?
I knew my selection on that team. They already had two experienced point guards, one being Dawn Staley, And I was kind of the third string at that point. And I knew that it was really more of an experience for me to be on the team and more of a learning process and really grooming me so I could be ready for the next Olympics, which is this year. And, I definitely didn't play, the last two games, the semis and the finals, but along the way, I still got a pretty good amount of time that I was able to get some playing experience. So like I said, overall, it was really just about watching and learning and being around there. And like I said, so I could be ready for 2008.
As you just mentioned, your role in the 2018, which will be making their quest for the gold rather soon, will be a little different. You'll be getting a lot more playing time. How are you preparing for that? And also, what will you do to support some of the players that might be in your position that you were in 2004?
Yeah, it's all about passing the torch. I think about, like I told you, Dawn Staley was the point guard of the team 4 years ago. And I know for her, that was her third Olympics. And I know in her first Olympics, she was kind of in a similar spot that I was in. And, she was in my ear constantly, whether it was in practice or just on the sidelines. Just always, talking to me and giving me tips. But more than anything, I got to watch her. I got to see how she conducted herself. She led the team. So of course for the younger players on this team, hopefully I can lead more so by example, but at the same time, I'm definitely going to be in their ear just as much as Dawn was in mine.
As I said before, you are from Long Island. I believe you still have some family on Long Island,
absolutely.
and some friends and family in Connecticut. Is it hard to see everybody when you come in for a game, either in New York or Connecticut?
Well, actually, I don't really have much family in Connecticut. A lot of people think I'm from there just because I went to college there, but all my family, especially on my mom's side, lives in Long Island, pretty much all of them. So it can be tough, but, now I'm kind of older. I think the the excitement of me coming there has kind of worn off a little bit, so it's not as many people, but, I definitely try to make time. The way the WNBA works is you generally fly out the next day after the game, right, and you get there the day before. So I have 2 nights to kind of spread some love out, see my friends, mostly my family the night before, and then my friends the night of. So it works out well.
Anybody I've ever spoken to about the Olympics or being at the Olympics said no matter how many times you go, you can't beat the rush. I mean, it doesn't make a difference where it is, no matter who is there. It's just amazing. I guess you're looking forward to the second time back, huh?
Absolutely. You cannot, as an athlete, opening ceremonies is unbelievable, unbeatable. Speaking of Dawn Staley again, she got voted by, the United States, committee for all sports to be the flag, to carry the flag. So she carried the flag, led the entire contingent of U.S. athletes into the stadium for opening ceremonies, and luckily enough, we got to be right behind her. So we were literally in the front walking in, and when the United States' name was announced, to have the entire stadium just go crazy was unbelievable. I mean, words can't describe. You definitely get chills. It's just, it's one thing to be named to the team, but then you're there and you're experiencing it. It's just, it's hard to put into words. And then, of course, when you're on the podium, for us it was to receive the gold medal when they place it around your neck, tell you you're a gold medalist, and then play the national anthem. There's a lot of pride. I think the cool thing about the Olympics, the cool thing about representing the United States is, there's some people out there who don't like us. There's some countries out there who, we may not have the same, political views, but there's also a lot of people living in America with a lot of different backgrounds. So it just makes, so what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of people from all over the world who also love America. And so, like I said, when you walk into open ceremonies, we definitely got the loudest cheers. And it was just unbelievable.
The